Herzlich willkommen zum 11. Extremwetterkongress. Wir befinden uns in der Session Wissenschaftskommunikation und ich darf ganz herzlich nach Paris begrüßen David Chavalarias. Bonjour, bonjour David. Ça va?
Bonjour, hello. Nice
Bonjour, bonjour. Der Mann spricht Französisch, ich spreche kein Französisch. Je ne parle pas français. Pardon, David. So we have to do it in English, and my English is terrible too. So we try it. And mein Englisch ist noch schlechter wahrscheinlich als mein Französisch und Französisch kann ich schon gar nicht. Also insofern, welcome to you to Paris. Well, how the weather is the weather fine in Paris actually? Is it sunny or stormy?
Yes. Very fine.
Very fine, very fine. So you would like to introduce us into communication into the internet with social media, and the floor is yours. Welcome to Hamburg.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this invitation. I will share my screen with the presentation. Here you should see my slides now. I will present some work we do at the Complex System Institute of Paris about online diffusion of information, and in particular misinformation. I will present some work we are doing on climate change. Just to start with, if we come back in 1912, we already knew at that time that there will be some problem with climate if we release too much CO2 in the atmosphere. And so the question is, now if you go on social networks, you still have a lot of deniers with a variety of arguments against the fact that there is indeed some climate change or that climate change is dangerous. Some say that there is no climate change, others that there is no consensus about climate change. Others are arguing that the scientists that are speaking about climate change are not real scientists. Others are saying that it's because of climate variability, etc. So you all know probably all this. But it's really impressive how many of these arguments you have, even until the fact that the CO2 is good because it's plant food. Here I will question how we get to that point on social networks, and I will have as a experimentation field Twitter, which is widely used for this kind of activism. Few part of methodology about Twitter. So Twitter is a microblogging platform where people can follow each other. And for example, when this guy, which was the French president, François Hollande, is saying something, tweeting, this guy here that is subscribed to this account, he receives a tweet, and he can, if you want, just repost this tweet, which is called retweet. And this guy that is following this guy, he received exactly the same message. So what we are doing now is that since now 6 years, we are following on Twitter people and also keywords that are related to climate change. And we got until now about 300 million tweets of exchange and discussion about climate change. So when you look at all these exchanges between people, you end up finding some things like that. So you have a group of people that are exchanging among themselves more than they are exchanging without group members. And with some mathematical analysis of this graph of interaction, you can identify what we call communities or groups. And these communities correspond to people that are aligned in their opinion. So I will show you what the analysis of these online communities on the climate change can give us as knowledge. So this is the landscapes of climate change debates or exchanges in late 2019. What here, each dot is a Twitter account. We have about 200,000 people there, or accounts, because some accounts are just bots. But if you look at how this is structured in their interaction, we clearly see that we have two big communities. Here you have one block at the right, which is the people that are climate change believer, and at on the right, so this is on the left. On the right, you have some climate change denier. And if you look at the structure of this, you can zoom in just to check that. Yeah, okay. So, for example, if you look at the climate change believer, of course, you have association, international association, and NGOs here. And after, the landscape is organized by country. So, for example, here, this is the Australians. Here, it is the UK. Here, it is on top left, this is America, US. But they are all connected because they share a common view that we should do something because there is some climate change issue. If you go on the right and look at I check that you see something here. If you look on the right and look at the skeptics communities, you find two big clusters. At the bottom here, this is all the political skeptics. So mostly here, it's Trump supporters or supporters of the Trump politics that are using also climate change to defend Trump's view. And on the top here, you see that it's another kind of deniers, which are more like feeded by the industry. So these are people that are trying to make believe that there is no problem because, for example, carbon, CO2 is not pollution, or coal is not pollution, etc., etc. So these communities, now we can analyze what's going on in these groups. And if, for example, we can look what they spread in terms of information. So just to give you a quick overview, this is a bushfire event. So here you have the deniers on the left. On the right you have on the right you have the denier. On the left you have the consensus. And this community that is highlighted in blue. So when a dot is blue, it means that it has published or posted information about bushfires. So in blue, you have the Australian communities. And this is the early bushfire season in 2019. If you look at the mid-season here, you see an increased activity in the denier camp here. So that we are explaining that bushfire is not due to human activities, that it is not due to climate change, that what always have been bushfire, etc. And after a while, this debate extends to the international debate here. This is an international community with all the NGOs that are answering, both answering the deniers and also relaying the alarming message of Australian communities. So when you have this geography of climate change debates online, you can do things like that. Now we will analyze how this community are sustained through times and how it's possible that you have such big important community of denier despite all the facts that we have proof of climate change. So what you should have in mind is that these communities evolve and renew constantly their members, but with different pace according to different communities. So if we look at this animation here you see on the left the climate change consensus and the right the deniers, and you see that people are constantly coming in, coming out, but you have a strong core of relay about this this climate change debate. So now we'll analyze the structure of this community and see what is the difference between the climate change consensus and deniers communities. So first, this is evolving. This is the landscape now this summer. So you still see that these two big groups hold, although with the fact that Trump lost, then the Trump camp is a little weaker now. Now, if we look at the difference, we have several differences. First, for example, if you look on long time scale, I mean several months or years, what you observe is that if you look at the account in those communities that are there every time over this long period, here we have filtered the graph with the nodes, the Twitter accounts that have been tweeting over long periods. You see that on the right, on the side of the deniers, then you have a very, very connected communities and dense networks. This means that you have people there that are here all the time, and they are very connected with each other. So they help each other to spread this kind of information. Where on the left, you have still some bigger count, but it's not at all the same structure. Another thing that we can observe is that if you zoom in a particular topics, for example, the argument that CO2 is good because it's plant food, so we should not be alarmed of having too much CO2 in the atmosphere. So here I have plotted on the top the activity of the skeptics communities over a few weeks. And when you have peaks here, it means that there are intense activities that they relay these topics. On the bottom, you have the activity of the consensus communities, or all the group on the left. What you see here is that sometimes you have organic activities. So for example, here, even in the skeptics, you have something that is rising and then decreasing, which is the expected patterns for attention on Twitter. But here you see that you have abnormal patterns. You have just peak every 7 days, which means that you have some accounts that are pushing at very precise dates these topics just to do some misinformation. And they are relayed, not at all, of course, in the consensus, but a little in the skeptics community, and then it fades off, it fades away. So as soon as you have attention decrease, they make another peak. So this is engineered in some way. Another thing that we can look at is at the arguments. And so you have several big issues about climate change. So for example, you have the sea level issue, you have the bushfire issue, you have the question of melting ice issue, and the greenhouse gas issue. And we can look at who is talking about the issue in both sides. So here, this graph shows you the number. What we are looking here is that who is talking about several issues at the same time. So if you look at, for example, people that are speaking both about sea level and bushfire, and that have posted at least 5 tweets of sea level and 5 tweets of bushfire, you are here on that curve. So you see that there is quite few people. And if you raise this threshold, so you are looking for people that are tweeting a lot, both about bushfire and sea level, then you are around here. So you are almost nobody in the climate change consensus camp that are speaking a lot about both sea level and bushfire. This is because the consensus community, the debate is organized around experts of the field. So you have experts of the bushfire, they spread information about this, and people, they react, they relay, they tweet a lot when we speak about bushfire, but they are not tweeting all the time about that. So here you have a decreasing of the number of multi-experts when you increase the number of tweets required to be an expert or to be considered an expert. So this is for the climate change consensus sides, whatever the community in terms of geography. If you switch to the size of the climate change deniers, so you see this decreasing here at the beginning, but after it's increasing here. So this means that you have like multi-experts. You have people that are talking about all issues at the same time. And sometimes this issue is contradictory. They can say that climate change is a hoax, after that climate change exists, but it is not due to human activities, and after several months later that it is due to human activity, but it is good, etc. So the deniers are organized around like key accounts that are organizing this activity and that are voluntarily pushing this activity and endorsing like this kind of multi-expert activities. And last, also we can look at the bots. So it's fake accounts that are here to amplify the activities of a certain opinion or the reach of certain opinions. And for example, here we'll zoom in these 2 accounts, Gilles Fio and Sylvia, etc., which are actually 2 bots accounts that have been suppressed since by Twitter. And they are here in this area of the climate change denier, close to big industry. And here, this is their impact in this ecosystem. So you see that they are reaching a lot of people locally, and they are also interacting with each other. So to conclude, what we see when we are looking at this online activism about both climate change consensus and climate change desire is that you have very different structure. Skeptics communities, they demonstrate what we call coordinated inauthentic behavior that aim at misleading people. So it's most of the time probably it's either bots or paid people that are there to spread this misinformation. And they are in minority even on Twitter, and Twitter is not representative of the whole population. So there is like an amplification of this group probably on Twitter. But still, there are minorities there, but they compensate for their minority position by being overactive and doing some astroturfing. This means that they create fake identities to spread message and to make the illusion that there are many. And they are constantly trying to recruit new people to believe their ideology by spreading new things and also countering climate change consensus argument. And this is possible because they are in environments that is globalized. And these two first options are possible because they can have larger impact in a globalized environment. So I will end there and also thank Mazia Panayi and Viktor Schoner that worked with me on that. And yeah, I open to questions. Thank you.
So David, thank you very much. Absolutely impressive and amazing what we can see there on the dynamic in social media. Ihre Fragen im Saal, eure Fragen im Saal. Some questions. Everybody is most impressive now. Fragen aus dem Netz?
No, there are no questions online.
So no questions anymore. All are fully informated. Thank you very, very much for your lecture, and so have a nice day in Paris for you. Thank you very much. A warm welcome from Hamburg.